Ciao, config. How are you doing today? So, before we get started, I have a question for you. How many of you have heard before about the Spotify model? Give me a show of hands. Don't be shy. Well, sorry to let you down, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. My name is Giulio. I lead desktop and web for Spotify. And what I am here to talk about is the joys, the opportunities, and the challenges of working on the original Spotify platform in a world that's already moved to mobile. I'm sure you're all aware by now, especially after the last few weeks of drama with the mobile icon changing. But this app has recently turned 20. It was around before the smartphone was even a serious concept. I wasn't around at the time, but has been shaped by 2 decades of challenges. It was built against a whole different set of constraints. At the beginning, it was performance. Fun fact, this app was actually just a couple of megabytes of size. A few years later, we moved towards a web-based UI, and the introduction of the dark and green look and feel that you're all familiar with. It's not quite the same dark, it's not quite the same green, but it's heading there. Around 2020, now the green is starting to be that green, the dark is starting to be that dark. Connect is making an appearance in the Now Playing bar, and starting to surface what is the rest of the Spotify ecosystem. 2022, the sidebar starts to grow. Color extraction makes an appearance. It's an app that now works seamlessly across desktop, web, Mac, and Windows. The heart is still around, not yet the plus. And finally, the app as it is today. It's an app that is based on the mobile information architecture, but tries to go an extra mile for the desktop users. They are a smaller reach. It's around 100 million users, but a more engaged one. It's those people that keep it open on the side of their Figma, on the side of their Excel sheet, in between a Zoom call or another. Maybe they use it during their lunch break to watch a video or to prepare a mix for an after party. And because of that, because they spend more time than any other user on the platform, they expect a lot from us. For a while, desktop was the Spotify app. But as you know, especially in this city, especially in this theater, 2007 happened. It was a massive revolution that swept across the tech world. Everything went mobile. Spotify even doubled down on this with what we call internally the ubiquity strategy, the ambition of being available on every device, from laptop to phones, to speakers, tablets, TVs, watches, cars, now glasses. A frictionless experience as a strategic advantage. Today, Spotify is available on 2,000 plus devices from more than 200 brands. But, because there is always one, there is a side effect to that mobile shift and this proliferation of platform. You see a cool new feature on your phone, you start getting used to it. It starts to become part of your daily life. And then you go to your laptop, you try to find it, and you just can't find it. And let me tell you, if that happened to you, you aren't the only one. This is actually me. A couple of months before I joined, I actually ended up shipping this feature in the first few months of the company, but that's a story for another time. Because of this shift, every feature is now designed through the lens of a phone. And if you're not designing for a phone, that creates a very specific kind of tension. And it's easy to feel like you're just a translation layer. So the question that I kept coming back to is, how do you translate features without losing their meaning? How do you leverage the mobile-first mandate to optimize the features for your own platform? If you want to do more than translate, you need to acknowledge what are the platform differences. Desktop is not just a bigger screen. It comes with a different context, with different physics, with different relationship with attention. And as a designer, it's your job to tell that story. It's like back in the days, the make the logo bigger problem never really went away. It just learned to speak product. Now it says port the feature. It's the same instinct, just a different vocabulary. So today I want to take you through a couple of examples that really forced us to stop and rethink the features in a way that they could only exist on desktop. The first one is picture-in-picture. We shipped it on mobile as Spotify started leaning into video. After all, picture-in-picture is a thing on desktop too. So the ask arrived to the team. And we started thinking about a straightforward translation. But it just felt like a static picture-in-picture wouldn't cut it. Desktop users aren't just watching. They're managing an ecosystem of windows, a document, a Zoom call, a Figma tab. And that happens on a screen that can go from 3,000 plus pixels down to less than 900. There is just no size that fits all. And as we started looking at the data, we noticed something. Media keys, shortcuts, Windows taskbar. A third of our user was actually already using peripheral controls for their playback, specifically to avoid interrupting their flow. Every context shift is an interruption. And if you're working or studying, like most of our users are, that adds up. And that realization really changed the brief. We started thinking of other cases where avoiding the interruption is the feature. A smartwatch mid-run, a dashboard while you're driving. Less is not a compromise. It's the whole point. So we stopped thinking about a video player, but instead, we started thinking about creating a window inside Spotify, whether you're watching or just listening. And we did try using picture-in-picture for that, but again, it just didn't feel right on desktop. Almost like a little TV corner living in your screen. It's not enough control for a desktop user. But at that time, picture-in-picture was evolving. Document picture-in-picture, a new API was just coming up that would allow you to be more flexible, letting users decide what less meant for them. It could be a small remote in the corner or a richer view, almost like a painting that is sitting on their screen while they're doing something else, maybe showing the queue maybe not. At big size, controls are displayed only on over, so that the artwork can shine. And at small size, just the essentials are there. Looking at the true user need and not the mobile brief allowed us to redefine that brief and what translation meant for us. And eventually earning Spotify a spot in the foreground, not just for video, but for music too. And it goes without saying that those users, the ones that spend their days on the platform, they noticed. The second example that I want to talk about, it's our scrollable feed. I'm sure you're all familiar with the industry-wide obsession with this format. It works brilliantly on a phone where your thumb is the engine. And as the mandate came to desktop, I was a bit skeptical. From one side, our use case is different. The feed is not the goal. It's not a playback experience. This is just the moment that your Discover Weekly lands, you jump in, you scroll through a few songs, you save the one that you love, and you listen to them later. The feed is not the end. But still, a vertical feed on a landscape monitor, it just felt strange. And as we looked at how others were doing it, most of the execution were pretty much a lift and shift of what mobile was doing. An immersive consumption experience that was designed for a phone, not for a laptop. Before inventing the wheel, I said, Giulio, let's try to make it work. And as we started executing on it, it didn't just feel like a waste of space. It felt hierarchically wrong. So we went back, and before exploring other solutions, we defined some principles to stick to that we wanted to be true to. We wanted to make clear that this was a different mode and respect it. As I said before, the feed is not the end. It's a moment. It's transitional. Second, respect the content and every aspect ratio. Maybe 20 years ago, Spotify was just about music, but that's not the case anymore. Even music itself comes with 9:16 videos, 8 seconds videos looping, music videos, but now we have podcast videos, clips, audiobooks. And the layout needs to serve that content and respect the creator that put it on Spotify, not fit them into a shape of a different platform. And third, how do we leverage our platform strengths, precision, keyboard control, the kind of clarity that you get when you're not designing for a thumb? So we pivoted, and instead of a full screen experience, we decided to use a model familiar to desktop users. An immersive experience that is clearly transitional. It signals that you are there to explore, but not to stay. Visuals and the metadata are optimized for a landscape consumption. And the metadata is as important as the video, so that you can evaluate better. We started using our superpowers, keyboard control, allowing to remove the friction of having to scroll with a mouse, making it feel more native, controlled. Micro-interactions and animations helped educate the user in this transition, bridging the leap from a mobile experience. And it made the whole experience feel more intentional. And ultimately, going from something that I was quite skeptical about, into a discovery tool that really feels like it belongs on the platform. These are just two examples, but they share the same tension. That tension that comes when the desktop execution becomes problematic because it's tied to the constraints of the mobile one. And today, I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts and lessons that I learned in my journey. First, consistency doesn't mean shipping the same thing on every platform. Don't get me wrong, sometimes shipping the same thing on every platform is exactly the right call. But sometimes, to be consistent to your own platform, you need to be intentional in the way you deviate from that brief. Second, good design happens when you embrace your constraints. Don't see your smaller team, your legacy platform, as a limitation. Look at it as a filter that forces you to make those choices. Constraints is where design starts and where the most interesting work happens. And finally, the translation layer is being automated, but your judgment is not. Design systems, frameworks, AI tooling. Translation is becoming automated, which means that the designer's value needs to move somewhere else along the chain. But the moment you say, should we even build it the same way? That platform intuition is something that no system can replicate. And the more AI simplifies that translation, the more desktop execution is going to be tied to those same constraints that mobile had to deal with. In this world, your interpretation matters more. The mini player, persistent, flexible, quiet or loud, the feed, immersive but never trapping. Both, if you think about it, they're out of sync with the way mobile did it. But that's exactly why they work. So let's rethink what translation really means, and let's embrace the agency that comes from being smaller, more deliberate, and a little bit out of sync. Thank you.